Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to do some cleaning and restoration, but mostly cleaning of these Louboutin Fetishas. This was a really popular style a while ago. I don't believe this particular style is in production anymore. This seemed to be a really popular style amongst a lot of celebrities. So whenever I can find them, I do try to grab them since yeah, it's no longer in production, and so I think people who are looking for like that kind of pinup style, I think tend to go for this particular style of Louboutin. So these have been kept in pretty good condition. There's really not a whole lot of wear on the toes, maybe just a little bit, so we'll just touch that up. That'll be really easy. The heels are actually in really great shape. There's just a little bit of wear on them and kind of this little divot, but nothing too bad. The soles look pretty good, so we'll just kind of retouch those up with some paint. Really the thing that needs the most work is the inside. They're just kind of really gross in there. So we'll put some gloves on, take some Clorox wipes to them, let it soak in a little bit, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then kind of wipe it all up in there. If that doesn't work, I like to use this tag scraper and just kind of get in there after it's soaked for a little bit, and then that gets it out really easily. So let's do that part, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. All right, so we've got our gloves on and these little Clorox wipes. And I just take kind of a quarter of a wipe and just kind of get in there, let it sit there for a second, do the same with the other one, kind of just get all those dirt spots a little bit damp, let it sit in there. All right, looks like the majority of that gunk is gone. We'll get that tag scraper, just kind of do a little bit of scraping in there. I know some people would just really rather not do any of this. You know, I think some resellers tend to just not go for any kind of shoe care because it's just kind of gross, and totally understandable. I, for myself, really love saving luxury items, and in my line of work, I've actually had a lot of really gross jobs before, and so this is nothing compared to those things, and so I really don't mind this at all, especially if I can flip these around and make a good profit on them and help them not go to the dump, because these are just such a cool piece of designer history, and yeah, I just really like restoring, repairing, not letting these go to the trash. I mean, these are just so nice, and you know, even though the prior person really, you know, obviously didn't love them anymore and decided to let them move on, that's okay. I'm sure that we can find somebody else who's really going to love these and hopefully give them another life. So there you go. So that is already looking so much better. That smooth leather sole really cleans up very well. This back suede part, that's harder to clean, so that's just going to look the way that it is. So much better. We're just going to go ahead and do that with this one, and then I'll show you what that looks like. So that's looking a whole lot better on the inside there. I'm still noticing some areas kind of on that inner lining there where some of the glue from the insole has come onto the side of the shoe, and I really can't get that off with the Clorox wipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a Q-tip, soak it in some Gooby Gone, and just really lightly do some test spots and see if that helps. All right, so I've got that Q-tip and this Gooby Gone, and we're just gonna get a little bit there on the tip here, and then we're just gonna kind of go in this area here. Give it a little scrub down. It's taking some of it off, so let's get a little bit more butts there. Let's see. I think I got a little too much on that end. So I think that's actually doing a pretty good job. That's a little bit of elbow grease in there that you gotta do a little bit of scrubbing and I think that's doing a pretty good job. And you do want to be careful that you don't go over into that suede part because it will kind of stain and it just looks just stained and not nice. So that's pretty gross. So that did a really good job. I really like the way that turned out. So we'll just kind of do a little bit more spot touch-ups, but I think that looks pretty good. So yeah, highly recommend doing that step. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm taking this damp cloth with just a little bit of soap on it, of that Lexol soap, and I'm just gonna kind of give it just a little bit of a rub down and just kind of take off any dirt that I'm having a hard time seeing because everything is black. So we're just gonna give it kind of a nice, just good wipe down. I'm not gonna get too vigorous here. Although these do look pretty just clean in general. So I don't anticipate that this step is really gonna do a whole lot, but just kind of remove any excess dirt or grime or anything like that. So it's pretty clean. Go on to the next one here. All right, looks pretty good. I'm gonna take another microfiber cloth and just kind of give it a rub down, get it dry, not let that excess moisture get into the leather. All right, everything looks good. So next step is going to be touching up some of these little spots of wear on the black leather. Specifically, I'm noticing that there's this flap, and if you've watched some of my other videos, you'll see that there's a really good way to get rid of this and kind of tack it back down and kind of save this from just kind of continuing to peel off and pulling that leather away. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Maybe touch up some of these other additional spots on the heel, but really these are actually looking pretty good, so not a whole lot to do here. All right, so I've got some of that acrylic paint, and now I'm just trying to find little dull spots where some of the original shine from the leather has worn off. And what I really love about these acrylic paints and just any kind of black shoes is the black just matches so well, and it just makes it look so nice. It gives it that shine that it had before, and it's just so easy. There's no matching of the colors, yeah, just really love restoring, repainting, retouching up these black Louboutins. That color is just, it just looks so nice. afterwards, and especially if you just give it like a nice little leather conditioning step at the end of everything. It looks so nice. All right, so getting to that little flap here that we just really don't like. So as you can see, the flap just kind of is pulling down. So what we're gonna do here, just gonna take a little bit of paint, tack it down underneath where the flap would be laying down, and then we're just gonna paint right over and stick it down. And then we're gonna let that dry for a little bit. We'll come back and do another coat to just kind of help it stick down like that. All right, so going back to that second coat there. So things are looking really good already. Just gonna do another little coat of this black acrylic paint. Obviously, if you're gonna look under a microscope at this tip, it's not gonna look perfect. You're just never gonna get it back to perfect. But at least that flap is tacked back down. It's not gonna peel further. And from a distance, these look pretty great. So just gonna let that dry. We'll come back and touch up this these red bottoms. So for the red bottom touch up, I'm gonna use this Angelus red leather paint. All right, so for touching up the heels, or sorry, the soles of this, I use this Angelus red acrylic leather paint. I'm not a huge fan of this paint, of this color for the red bottoms. I don't think it's the right color. I used to have the Walking on Red color, which I can't remember if it is a better match. I will say that I think there are different decades of the Louboutin red paint that they've used over the years, and so the tone has changed a little bit, and so I don't think that each shoe will match that Angelus Walking on Red color. So I think, you know, if you really are a perfectionist, like, you might want to touch up the tone and match it to your particular red sole. In my experience, they're not all the same red, but I've ran out of the other one and I don't have another red to match the tone with it, so for now this will have to do. Plus I think it's going to require a couple of coats, and I don't know that I have for enough paint to get me more than one coat, so we'll see how far we can get. So we'll just get started with at least doing one coat real quick, and then we'll come back and probably have to do another coat. Sometimes these red sole bottoms will have some divots in them, and I've seen some videos from like professional shoe cobblers, not ones like me at home, and they have this like leather filler type thing that's red colored, and I thought that was really cool, but I have no idea what it is. So if you have any idea what it is, you watching right now, leave a comment, let me know what that stuff is, and if you think it's any good. I would love to give it a try, but I just haven't found like a good solution, a good material that I could try it out with. So I would be really interested to know if anybody out there knows what that stuff is. I try to be really careful with the edges here because I don't want to get red on the black, obviously. And I'll go back at the very end and kind of do a final edge coat with some black. got a little overzealous here on the edge, so I'm just gonna kind of wipe it off with my finger. So we'll put that aside and let that first coat dry. All right guys, so we've done one coat of this paint on the leather soles. As you can see, even with the one coat, I mean, things look pretty good, but definitely needs another coat. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. Let it dry, and then let you see what it looks like. All right, so I have now done, I think, about 3 coats of that paint on the soles. And if you look at them in daylight, they don't quite match up. I don't know if you can really appreciate that, but you know, I think from far away they look fine. And so I'm gonna leave it as is. I think it looks pretty good for a home paint job. Looks pretty good. And then so the final thing is I am going to give these leather uppers just a little bit of shine, and what I really like to use is this Doc Martens Wonder Balsam. I think that's how you say that. And I've used this, oh my gosh, I've probably had this for more than a year, honestly, maybe even 2. And you know, I don't use it a whole lot. I really like to use this on my more expensive leather goods, and I'm not going to use a whole lot. Just going to put it on this brush here and then just give it a good little shine. This will eventually kind of dry off so it doesn't stay greasy. The key is to not use a whole lot, but I think this works really well, especially on darker colored leathers, and really kind of gives the shoes some extra life. This is a pretty thin leather and it is kind of dry. I doubt that the leather has ever been treated before. I could do a leather conditioning step and then do this this balsam over, but I don't think that the leather is that bad, so we're just gonna do the Wonder Balsam on it and let them dry. All right, so that balsam has gone on. I do use just a very minimal amount, and after I brush it in with this brush here, I actually do use this microfiber cloth and really kind of just rub it in and kind of get any residual extra of that greasiness off of them. Again, this is a pretty thin leather, and so I don't want it to really be sitting on there and, you know, potentially transfer onto other stuff. So I think these look pretty great now. Their shine is back. You really can't tell where they've been touched up with the acrylic leather paint. The soles have been painted, so they at least give the appearance that they haven't been worn yet, which I think some people really like when they get these for the first time, even though they're not necessarily new. The insides have been cleaned, those look much better. So I am going to take some pictures of these and put them up on my Poshmark, in my Poshmark closet. So if you guys are interested, feel free to go check those out. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I guess follow along for when I post more videos. All right, thank you so much. Bye.